Hello, everybody. This is José Ignacio from the Uncomfortable Dialogues 2022. Thank you very much for joining us today. We value your participation and feedback. In today's dialogue, we have a conversation with Ted Milone. He's an expert about leadership and operational execution, and he's been in San Antonio for quite a long time. So welcome to this conversation, Ted. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I must admit that I'm missing our face-to-face coffee breaks.
I know it is kind of weird that we're doing this on video when normally we've been across a table.
Absolutely. So how's life on your side?
It's good. It's good. You know, I've got zero complaints, and I mean that.
Hey, one question. Whenever I think about you, I think that you have been working for so many years delivering service to massive entities, bigger corporations in the US. So how do you do it now that you are missing the personal touch with your clients?
Out of the four characteristics of a CEO and leadership that you had, the first one, which was strong curiosity, and I was thinking to myself, this is both, both good and bad, and I'm thinking of the literally minute by minute, hour by hour amount of information that we had, and that idea of strong curiosity could be as good of an enemy as a friend. So that one really rang my bell when I read that. I was like, yeah, okay, I could see how that would maybe be a little bit too much. Turn that down. So it's definitely a challenge because, and I think we've talked about this before, is this idea of, cultivating current relationships is easy, especially, for those of us who are typically in sales. Growing new relationships, that's the big challenge. So even though a lot of these symposiums and gatherings are online, it's definitely a challenge. You know what has worked out for a lot of us is truly that kind of hub and spoke model of no kidding. What are the relationships that I have with current folks? How can I cultivate those to expand what typically I have done within my own circle? So believe it or not, it's relying on those other relationships that you already have.
Okay, so in a way, you are focused on the soft skills versus the technical skills to get the mission accomplished, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. That's definitely it. So you're right. Definitely more finesse. Definitely, there's more finesse in this, meaning that I think that's what you were talking about was. This is definitely kind of an out of the box model. I can't expect to go to the Rocky Mountain Cyber Symposium in Colorado Springs and possibly meet the Air Force CIO. So how am I going to do that when I didn't have that opportunity before?
How do you do it? I mean, it ain't gonna work via Zoom or net meeting. Yeah.
I'll say this: the good news is that especially on the government side, they realized that it was important. Meaning, it's very typical that when especially in the federal and DoD space, they want to know from vendors. They want to be able to vet requirements and understand what they're, understand what technologies are out there, what services are out there. If I've got a very specific requirement, how can I bounce that off of industry to accomplish the mission? So because of that, there was kind of an equal desire with, from those, from the federal side, the government, our DoD and federal civilian folks, that no, we actually do need to have these meetings. Now, don't get me wrong. If anything, it has actually increased the access to a lot of these folks because they realize that we're not having those things. So by far, meetings have, or access to individuals has actually increased since COVID. You're right, it's virtual, how many really big deals actually happen without a handshake? You know, you're right. There is that personal touch to this, and this then gets to, you know, that that meaningful follow up. You know, not just what doesn't seem like canned, but how do you actually, you know, cultivate a relationship when it's virtual?
Do you think that we have learned?
I'll say yes, from the standpoint of I really think it forced people to think about what really matters, and that's both in a good and in a bad way, because I think that brings out the best and the worst in us. I'd like to think that the day after tomorrow, everyone would be able to say, it really can't get worse than this, you know, but if it does, we've done this once, whatever this is, you know.
Yeah. COVID may be resolved over a couple of years or months or whatever. We have found the solution to COVID. Do we know how to cope with crisis effectively, or we don't?
So you know what? When I think of what I try to plant a flag in when we're talking about crisis is that, you know, crisis means that the future events are determined. And I think that's where we miss out a lot on this, is that, you know, we tend to always think that we know what is going to happen. And that is true, you know, that's truly when you get in crisis mode, when you have to mitigate what I know is going to happen. So if I spin that just a little bit to say, do we really know, you know, what brings an outcome, you know, and with that, I think it does give us that breathing room, you know, that slow is smooth, smooth is fast kind of mindset where, okay, you know, the wings are still on the airplane. We're still flying. So what does this really mean? And so with that said, no, I think if we keep that in context, that do we really know? Do we really know that, you know, what the future, you know, what's in store for the future? Then that's a different story. And I do like to think that it's been a good lesson. This is going to be this is a great series. I can't wait to see how you're gonna update your next book. We're all waiting for it.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be a book. It's going to be a series of dialogues like this.
Oh, fantastic.
Together, yeah. It's going to be far more digitalized. Yeah, well, thank you very much for the idea.
Okay.
We need to run, but thank you very much for attending this dialogue. I really appreciate it. I miss the personal connection, but we will find another way to meet again.
Yes.
And for everybody else watching these dialogues, if you have any question to Ted or to myself, just drop a note here in LinkedIn or YouTube and we'll get back to you. That's a promise.